Well, Rich here, my fellow drifter maniacs. I bought the cheapest Traxxas and the cheapest Arrma. Who wins? I'd like to think we're going to find out in this video. I'm going to evaluate them based on what you get for your money in terms of the price, what's included with it, what's not included with it. I'm going to do a GPS speed run with both of these cars in this video, so we're going to see which is the fastest straight out of the box. And I'm also going to do an endurance test with them with the same milliampere hour battery to see which one lasts the longest in terms of runtime. I am going to do a bashing video with them, but for that I'm going to get my two friends, John and Mo, to come along with me, and all three of us are going to vote on which we feel is the best basher out of the two, because I feel like it's quite a subjective thing. It's not something you can put score on a 1 to 10 basis, but we will be scoring these cars as we go along in this video, and the running total for points will appear either down in this corner or down in this corner. So what did I get? Well, keep watching and find out. So the lowest priced Traxxas car, as opposed to Traxxas, is the Traxxas Bandit, yours for around about $149.99. That's if you buy it online. If you go into your local hobby store, you're probably going to get maybe an extra 10-15 bucks off. But they don't discount these down online, but only if you go in your local hobby store. On this side, we have the Arrma Granite Voltage, yours for around 99 bucks. Now, I did say I would score these on points as we go along, and winning the initial pricing round is the Arrma, as it is $50 less in price than the Traxxas car. So 1 point to Arrma. However, there is going to be a differential on the speed of these cars, which I shall be testing later on in the video, running the GPS on both of them. Although this Arrma Granite has a claimed top speed of 20 miles an hour and the Traxxas Bandit a claimed top speed of 35 miles an hour, that top speed will be with the optional pinion fitted on it. And you may be surprised to see how close the Bandit is to the Granite or not, but the GPS will tell us. Anyway, let me get them out of the boxes, put them on the side, brief tour round of each car and tell you what they do and don't come with. Okay, well, let's get them both out of the boxes and find out exactly what they do and don't come with. Well, in terms of what does it come with, the Granite is stated as being ready to run. Indeed, it comes with a set of batteries for the transmitter, charger for the battery, and a 7.2 volt 1800 milliamp NiCad included on it. Both cars are two-wheel drive. Now, the Traxxas Bandit isn't classed as ready to run, it's classed as ready to drive, which means you're going to need to get a battery and a charger to go with it. But on the other hand, that gives you a high level of flexibility in terms of what speed you want to go at in terms of power plant. And speaking of which, both cars have brush motors at this price point. The Arrma Granite has a 20 turn motor on here. However, whilst the Traxxas Bandit's also brushed, it has the awesomely powerful 12 turn Titan motor. So what difference does that motor make in the real world? Well, for the extra 50 bucks, Traxxas claim to get 35 miles an hour plus out of this. So you're getting a full 15 miles an hour more top speed than you are with the Arrma Granite Voltage with its claimed top speed of 20 miles an hour. However, this motor, being 20 turns, will have more torque, but then you do need to factor in this is running considerably larger diameter monster truck wheels. So in terms of scoring them as to what they come with, straight out of the box, it's clear that the Arrma being completely ready to run wins, so that is another point to Arrma, but I don't think this is going to be a one-way street at all. So in terms of on paper power plants, I think the Traxxas is clearly going to win it and edge it with that proven 12 turn Titan motor, although we will be putting the GPS on them later on in this video. But in terms of speed out of the box, I think I'm going to give 1 point to Traxxas. Now, in terms of transmitters, don't expect anything spectacular at this price point. We have our ubiquitous Traxxas 2.4 gig transmitter, good for a range of around about 300 feet plus, I would say. Only adjustability you've got on this is steering trim, although you can use this little red button on the top to change a lot of the parameters on the transmitter to give it a lot more functionality, but you need to do that by manually pressing this button in different sequences. The Arrma transmitter does feel a lot more light and plasticky on there, but has a lot more adjustability on the top, including the ability to reverse the steering and reverse the throttle, which is quite neat at this price point. Anyway, I think in terms of straight out the box functionality, we have to give Arrma a point for that. It says transmitter has a lot more features on it than a Traxxas one does, although this is quite a sturdy, proven transmitter. Arrma gets the point on this one, but we will see how this is out in the field, and I will see if I can do a distance test on the transmitters, because that can actually be quite a key feature, particularly if you were to modify either of these cars to brushless, because I believe the Mega Range is now brushless ready. This, you could drop the Valinian power plant in straight away, and you're going to be going 65 to 75 miles an hour, depending on the gearing on there. So transmitter scoring, gonna have to leave that one till later on in the video. In terms of upgradability, I would say hand on heart, you're gonna have to give Traxxas a point on there, because if you fit a brushless motor in this baby, you're looking at 65 to 75 miles an hour plus. You fit a brushless motor in here, I'm thinking we might be hitting 35, 45 miles an hour, but then this is a claim 35 miles an hour out of the box. So you see, it's not a one-way street. Traxxas, we're gonna have highs and lows in this video. But in terms of upgradability, not just power plant, in terms of parts, in terms of aftermarket parts available for the cars, I would have to say you're going to be able to get a lot more parts out there for the Bandit. So in terms of upgradability, the Bandit gets another point. This is going to move up and down throughout this video. Now before we dive into the cars, what else do you get with each one? Well, in terms of the Arrma one, you get this sort of quick start guide, but we've not got any exploded diagrams in there, just a basic guide on how to get started. Mini wheel spanner in there, and a couple of pre-tensioners for the shocks. However, with the Traxxas, we get a fairly comprehensive instruction manual with lots of exploded diagrams, part numbers, etc. on there. And we get a quick start guide to get you off and running, which probably has just as much detail as the Arrma manual, and it does. However, with Traxxas, you also get a battery adapter, toolkit, speed pinion included. So it's not going to do that 35 out of the box unless I fit this pinion to it, and a whole two whole bagfuls of shock pre-tensioners on there. A couple of stickers, warranty card to send off. Not quite clear as to the warranty registration on the Arrma. And we also get a bag of spare body clips and a few pins, etc. on there. So in terms of non-car stuff, the Traxxas, is a very clear winner on there. You can maybe begin to see why this costs 50 bucks more. So that's 1 point to Traxxas for that. Well, whilst the battery is charging on this car and on the Bandit, let me tour you around the cars, show you what you get for your money. Lexan body shell on here, 2-wheel drive at this price point, brush motor, combined ESC and receiver at this price point, which is something to consider if you do want to upgrade, that you're going to have to spend a little bit of money fitting a new receiver and new ESC, and quite possibly have to change the transmitter. So I do stand by my upgradability thing. The Traxxas is easier to upgrade. 5 kilo servo on here, 2-wheel drive, independent suspension all round. That is actually not bad. I suspect that might be the better basher out of the two, but we will see near upcoming test on there. Tiny impact bumper at the front, but then the Traxxas has got quite a similar one. The battery compartment is actually quite neat. The battery's not going to go anywhere in a hurry. You pull that open, you slide it out, and the battery goes in that cage in the middle. Lock it in, back up like that, so the battery's not going to come out when you're bashing at all. Motor is securely tucked away. It's a mid-mounted motor as opposed to rear-mounted motor on there. Access to your spur and your pinion in there. Whole thing is made of plastic other than the drive shafts, but then Traxxas is pretty much similar on that basis, but not too bad for 99. I would just say that it's got one with the EC3 connector on here. If you buy one of these cars, I would budget for getting a fast charger as opposed to using this slow charger. But in terms of the Bandit, we get a far racier machine. Again, 2-wheel drive. Moving on inside, separate ESC, separate receiver in there. So that means it's a lot easier and cheaper to upgrade this car. So fully waterproof electrics on the Traxxas, as well as fully waterproof electrics on the Arrma. Once again, the bulk of this car is plastic, including the rear drive shafts, but they will handle the 12-ton Titan motor. The Arrma one has just got a 20-ton motor on there, but this is quite a very proven platform indeed, and will put up with a lot of abuse, as we will no doubt find out in our bashing test. Speaking of abuse, will it take a good drop? Didn't bottom out on that drop test. And I mentioned front bumper on the Arrma Granite. Well, you see the Traxxas has just got a small one on there as well. So with either car, you're going to have to be careful if you get near any walls. The one thing I would say is the Traxxas bumper is ahead of the wheel line. The Arrma bumper is behind the wheel line. So the wheels on the Arrma are going to hit the wall first before this bumper does. Should Richie do the wall test in this video? I will see how we get on with the GPS speed test first of all. And in terms of battery connectors, this has got one of the Traxxas ID battery system connectors fitted to it. So you ideally that kind of pushes you towards Traxxas batteries, but you can get adapters for these fairly easily. Or if you're only good at soldering, you might simply want to change this connector, as a lot of people do, giving you complete flexibility on what you can fit to the car. But then you could do with the granite voltage as well. Okay, so we're nearly ready for the speed test. The batteries are finished charging. Today in both cars, I've got a 7.2 volt, 1800 milliamp battery. That is because this car comes with one. This one doesn't, but I feel it's only fair to put the same size battery in order to give them a comparative test straight out of the box. But of note is both of these cars can take 2S batteries on here. 2000 milliamp, 25C maximum rated battery and 2S LiPo on here. Traxxas one, if you're with Traxxas batteries, will also be 25C, but you can buy Traxxas LiPos, I think up the 2S ones, up to about 5000 milliamps, which will give you a huge runtime on something like this. So anyway, time to get some batteries in my Traxxas transmitter. Let's see just how fast these cars are. Okay, well I'm out with the Traxxas Bandit and the Arrma Granite Voltage, and we're going to see which one of the two is the fastest straight out of the box. This has just got the stock pinion on it as opposed to the optional one it comes with. It's not in training mode, it is in its full sport mode. Before anybody says anything, because occasionally I get people saying, oh, mine does at least 30 miles an hour. The word at least indicates they have never even heard of a GPS. It's not in training mode, it is in sports mode. It's just got an 1800 milliamp 10.2 volt nickel metal hydride battery, same as the Arrma Granite has today. So we've set that going. Quick run up now, see just how quick it is. I think it's going to max out fairly quickly. Don't expect it to be super fast along here. So how fast is the Bandit? Well, quick as opposed to absolutely outrightly fast. That's definitely peaks out though. But you have to bear in mind, only does a 35 mile an hour plus speed with the optional pinion on, and a 2S battery, LiPo battery, probably would help. That's peaked out. Not bad brakes. Let's see what we got. 22 miles an hour. I did say to you that out of the box, this test might be narrower than you think. Okay, 7.2 volt, 1800 milliamp battery on board, Power Hobby GNSS speed meter on board. So, gonna start that, and let's see just how quick it is. Now, if you wanted to see how slow it can go, you can turn it down into what they call rookie mode. This is full throttle on rookie mode. But you turn this middle dial up, right the way up to maximum power on there, and it's a different beast. And in terms of acceleration, I have to say, when I've been trying it off camera, that's got more acceleration off the line to my mind than the Bandit has, but at the expense of top speed. But bear in mind, this has got a 20 turn motor as opposed to the 12 turn Titan in there, which is obviously going to give more revs. But one more run up now and max it out. This is going to be close. I'm thinking that could be between 19 and 21 actually. Ring any last bit out, Rich, come on, max it out, Richie. Okay, so read that, 18 miles an hour. So I said between 19 and 21, so I wasn't too far out. But also, this is much closer out the box speed test than people would have thought. You were thinking this was going to massacre it at 35. This is doing 20. It only does the 30, 35 plus with the optional pinion fitted to the Bandit, which I may do later on in this video if I get time. But I am in the dying light of day. Just remember, guys, if you like what you see today, don't forget to subscribe. So the speed test. I told you at the start of this video, don't be surprised if these cars straight out of the box are much closer together on paper than they are on what's written on the outside of the box. And that is because if you want a Traxxas Bandit to go at 30, 35 miles an hour plus, you need to fit the optional pinion it comes supplied with. So while it's won the speed test by 4 miles an hour over the Arrma Granite, it will do considerably faster with this fitted, which I shall show you in the next couple of days. And there will be somebody out there that will say, oh, you idiot Richard, You had it in training mode. My car does at least 30 miles an hour. Big mistake. It wasn't in training mode. It was a fully charged pack. And anybody that says my car does at least has never used a GPS and probably still has this in their toolbox. Anyway, that's enough of me being cynical, but I can guarantee someone will say that in the comments section. Anyway, I wonder in a straightforward drag race, which one of these two is going to be the winner?
I could be brave and see if I can try and control both cars off the line at once. Now, how good are you, Richie? It's like Richie doing drag racing against himself, and if they get too close, I'm going to have to ease up. But full throttle for both of them. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, and Traxxas pulls away. And Traxxas not only won the outright speed test with 1 point, it also won the drag racing with another point.
Well, apologies for the top end of the camera angle on that one, but in repeated tests, the Bandit does pull away on the drag racing every single time. So Traxxas gets a point in terms of the outright acceleration, although I did feel when I first tested the dynamic voltage that this would have the edge in terms of acceleration, but in pure drag racing, the Traxxas does win, so it gets the point.
Okay. So that was a fairly simple, straightforward drag race, but by doing it just on my own, I was able to launch both cars at the same time. This felt faster, accelerating it on its own, but in reality there, the Traxxas immediately began to pull away. Just wondering if that sort of spinning of the wheels gives the impression that this is pulling away quicker than it is, whereas this pulls away with no noise or drama on there. Anyway, I'm going to do an endurance test, but I'm going to do that when I've got both battery packs fully charged up. Okay, now in terms of handling, that's a full throttle cornering, pretty quick. No drama, it doesn't want to roll over. In fact, the steering could probably do with a bit more adjustment. That is cornering on full throttle now, full throttle on there. It would be better being two-wheel drive, being on a bit of loose dirt, so you could steer on the throttle a bit, but it is very, what I would say, beginner friendly. In terms of braking, not bad. Neither of them are outstanding in terms of the brakes. Try that again, full throttle towards me, brake on. Not bad. As I say, that seems to launch off the line, can't help thinking, with a bit better gear. Now again, very beginner friendly. Turn on full throttle, and you're getting, oh, you are getting a little bit of oversteer on there, and you will notice it has got a much better turning radius. It's wanting to lift the inside front wheel. But if you want something that's, well, either one of them I would say quite chuckable. But you can see it's nearly lifting the inside front wheel up. But in terms of full throttle turning, that's how tight a radius it can do. So, depending on where you want to run this car and your driving style or your kid's driving style, might depend upon which one of these cars you want, because they handle very, very differently indeed in terms of which has got the best steering. The Granite is very beginner friendly and changes direction very quickly, and you can turn much tighter steering radius on it. The Bandit changes direction quite well, almost wants to understeer. I think these tyres are more suited to dirt than they are on black. On blacktop, I'm split 50-50 on the handling, so half a point each.
So now what other things should you consider when evaluating these two cars? Because people say Traxxas is expensive, but is it? Because I personally am not convinced by that argument. People say Arrma's tough. I'm not entirely convinced by that argument. Later on, I will probably do in another video when I finish testing the heck out of these things, the Richie wall test. I will drive both these cars flat out, head on into a wall, and we will see which one comes off the better or the worse. Although I suspect both of these will probably just bounce off the wall, because there ain't a lot of weight to these two on, and stock out the box, they're not going super fast, although this thing at 35 miles an hour probably would come off worse than this. But to come back to that point, is Traxxas expensive? Well, let's take a quick look at some of the spare parts online and see. Things like shocks, chassis, etc. And the winner will get a point or not.
And taking a look at a few spare parts, shock absorbers for the Arrma, $19.99, and for the Traxxas at $18. Also $18 for the front one, so on the Traxxas. Next up, taking a quick look at the tyres, $24.99 for a pair of tyres fully assembled for the Arrma, and the ones for the Bandit, $25 as well. And taking a quick look at the Bandit chassis, $15 for that versus $19.99 for the Arrma chassis. A new body, $34.99 for the Traxxas, and $31.99 for the Arrma. So overall, quite tricky to split in terms of the pricing on the spare parts, so I'll give them half a point each. But Traxxas are by no means expensive on the spare parts.
So there we have it. The final scores are, and you might be saying, but Richie, you haven't done a bash with them. You've not done the endurance test as yet. Well, the endurance test, I was running out of light tonight. Apologies on that. Will be done in the next couple of days. In terms of which is the best basher, it is nigh impossible to drive both cars over the same terrain, land off the same jump, etc., and expect them to handle, put up the abuse in the same way. Which is the best basher is very, very subjective. I hope that makes sense. But in terms of overall value for money, you are getting a huge amount of car for your money with the Arrma Granite. I can't believe they're actually making any profit on this thing at $99 by the time it's gone to dealers, the component parts in it, etc., etc. on there. Well, I've actually added this bit of the video in later. I've been thinking about it overnight, and I think the Arrma Granite Voltage deserves a point for overall value for money. The fact that it's completely ready to run, even down to the batteries in the transmitter, means you're getting huge value for money, and it also makes it ideal if you want to give this as a gift to somebody on their birthday and Christmas Day. They can take it outside, drive this thing straight away, and it's not that much slower than the Bandit is out the box. Although the Bandit with the extra pinion fitted will go considerably faster. It's not as fast as the Bandit, so if speed's your thing, I would say go for the Bandit, but this is a lot going for it. And if you're mainly going over grass, as an example, as opposed to dirt, I would say go for this style of truck as opposed to this buggy. But if you're mainly going on blacktop, loose dirt, then go for the Bandit. But I do hope in today's video, I've done things very objectively in terms of how I scored the performance and value for money of both of these cars. Why didn't I do a bashing video with both of these cars head to head? That would have been purely subjective. They're going to handle very differently. They could land badly over a jump. They could land really well over a jump. And that wouldn't necessarily be the car's fault. They are designed quite differently. But it was basically about buying the cheapest Arrma, buying the cheapest Traxxas, putting them head to head on an objective point scoring nature rather than doing it subjectively. Hope that makes sense. If it did and you like this video, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Well, thumbs up if you like this video, guys. Post any comments you might have in the comment section below the video, and hit the circle below to subscribe. And if you do hit the circle, don't forget to hit the bell.